Today, we're diving into the extraordinary system of rules that, according to our source material, governs every single aspect of life in North Korea. We're going to look at how this system of total control was built and, maybe more importantly, how it's kept in place every single day.
So let's just start with this quote from our source because it is pretty shocking. It points to a system where your fate isn't sealed by what you do, but by who you're born to. And honestly, if you can wrap your head around this one idea, you're on your way to understanding the logic behind the entire system.
So, how on earth did it get this way? To really get a handle on the rules they have today, we have to look back at the history that created them. This wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was built piece by piece over decades.
Okay, so after World War II, Korea gets split in two, setting the North and South on completely different paths. In 1948, the Kim dynasty begins its rule. But here's the crucial part. The Korean War in the 50s never officially ended. There was no peace treaty. This constant, technical state of war has been the justification for extreme control, cementing the dynasty's power for over 70 years.
So with that history as the foundation, the state built this incredibly rigid social structure. I mean, just try to imagine your entire life's path, your job, where you live, what you eat, all of it decided for you the second you're born.
And that system has a name, Songbun. You can think of it as the absolute bedrock of their society. It has nothing to do with you, your talents, or your ambitions. It's all about your family's history and how loyal the government thinks your grandparents were. It's a caste system based on politics.
It's broken down into three main tiers. You've got the core class at the top. These are the descendants of war heroes. They get all the perks, the best jobs, a nice apartment in the capital, maybe even a car. Then there's the wavering class, which is most people, and at the very bottom, the hostile class. If your ancestors were, say, landowners or religious, you're considered an enemy of the state from birth, destined for the worst jobs imaginable.
Okay, so your place in society is set. Now, how does the state make sure you never, ever question it? Well, you build a wall around them, an information fortress controlling every single thing they see and hear.
And this right here just shows you the sheer scale of that isolation. Most people there have never been on the internet as we know it. They have a national intranet. It's a completely sealed-off, state-run network. Think of it like a digital walled garden with no windows to the outside world.
And the control is just absolute. TVs are hardwired to only get state channels. If you're caught watching a South Korean movie, you could end up in a labor camp. The state considers any outside media as a kind of poison. They even inspect personal USB drives to make sure there's no forbidden content. Every possible link to the outside world is severed.
But it's not just about what you can watch or read. This control seeps into the most personal, everyday choices you could possibly make. It's all about enforcing total conformity.
Let's start with something as simple as your clothes. Blue jeans? Nope. They're banned because they're seen as a symbol of American culture.
And it's not just your clothes, it's even your hair. You can only pick from a list of government-approved hairstyles. Anything that stands out, like dyed hair, is a no-go. Thinking about visiting family in the next town over? Not so fast. You need an official government permit just to travel inside your own country.
And maybe most fundamentally, nothing is really yours. The whole concept of private property just doesn't exist. The state owns everything. Your home, the farm you work on, you're just allowed to use it.
So, with all these incredibly restrictive rules, you have to ask, how do they enforce all of this? The answer is a system of constant, lifelong loyalty tests designed to make sure everyone stays in line. This quote from the source really says it all. It's not just about what you do, it's about what you might be thinking. Spies are everywhere, and everyone is encouraged to report on their neighbors. It creates this powerful fear of being punished for even just appearing disloyal.
And this is probably the most chilling tool of control they have, the three-generation punishment. If you commit a major political crime, like trying to escape, it's not just you who goes to a prison camp. It's your children and your grandchildren too. The whole idea is to stamp out the seed of rebellion from a family line forever.
You know, they even take something that looks like democracy and turn it into another loyalty test. They have elections, and everyone has to vote. But there's only one name on the ballot, and it's chosen by the state. So voting isn't about choice. It's about showing up to publicly prove your obedience. And if you don't, that's considered treason.
And surprise, surprise, this is what you get. The goal is to be able to announce a 100% turnout with 100% of the vote going to the approved candidate. It's all about creating this image of perfect, unwavering unity.
And these tests are just woven into the fabric of daily life. You have to go to weekly meetings to confess your ideological failings. You have to memorize huge chunks of political text. Every single home has to have portraits of the leaders, and you're responsible for keeping them clean. And on certain anniversaries, you're required to participate in public mourning.
Which brings us back to the biggest question of all. Why? Why go to these insane lengths to build a society based on such complete and total control?
Well, according to our source material, it really boils down to two main things. First, pure fear. The regime is terrified that if its people saw what the outside world was really like, the freedom, the culture, the prosperity, they would rise up and overthrow the system. And second, years of international sanctions have only pushed the country deeper into isolation, making that fear even stronger.
Okay, and this is a really important point we need to make. The information we've talked about here is based on source material that comes almost entirely from people who have managed to leave North Korea. Because the country is so sealed off, it's basically impossible to check these accounts from the inside.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought. We live in a world of satellites, of information that leaks across borders. What happens when a system that was built on a foundation of total isolation has to confront a world that's more interconnected than ever? The real question isn't just if that wall will hold, but what happens when it finally starts to crack.